Welcome to Military Spouse World 1-to-1, a weekday podcast featuring a military family shaker and mover, helping you navigate this amazing chapter in life. Here's your host, Dave Etter.
On this episode of Spouse World 1-to-1, you get to meet Brittany Boccher. She's an Air Force spouse, a mother, a mentor, an advocate, a small business owner, a volunteer, a nonprofit guru, and a shaker and a mover in our military spouse world. I caught up with her in late March of 2017, and this is that interview. Hello, Brittany. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you, Dave?
Outstanding. I am enjoying Germany, enjoying the summer, knowing that it's getting kind of ugly again out there in US of A. Is it pretty cool where you're at right now? Are you good?
I am in the wonderful natural state of Arkansas. The weather here is been in the 70s, low 80s, and we are nearing tornado season. So,
no.
Yeah. The least exciting part of living in the state is the tornado.
Tornadoes scare me. Well, it's not because I've been in any yet, but I've seen the swath, the destruction that tornadoes give. But you know what? That's an interesting, I haven't had a chance to think about that at all. But, we have enough challenges as military spouses on our plates as to, how to get along with other spouses and how to help our service members stay mission focused. I was in the military when Hurricane Hugo ripped into South Carolina. And I had just left the Charleston area down to Jacksonville. I mean, that was the 80s. It hit the military community pretty hard. How do the tornadoes hit the military community where you're at? I mean, is it pretty scary?
Well, we are so used to the tornado season here. And oddly enough, where the base is located and where most of the military live, the two towns where the military live, it just seems like the pattern is that the tornadoes skip that entire pathway. But
really?
10 miles off the pathway, they've been completely gone to the ground in tornadoes, I think as early as just like 3 or 4 years ago. And so last night we were under tornado warnings here all the way until I think 1 a.m. And it was amazing to look at the radar and see our town with the little dot on it and to see the right and left side of the radar screen was full of just tornadic activity, and we had not a drop of rain. It was just like this pathway of clear, skies.
It's almost like the tornado was afraid to mess with the military.
Absolutely.
Just like bullies are afraid to mess with Chuck Norris.
Oh, yes. So, Chuck Norris is a huge, fun topic in our home.
Yeah. Now, let's get to some of the awesomeness that makes you an amazing military spouse. You've been honored here with being selected as the 2017 Armed Forces Insurance Air Force Spouse of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And it's absolutely an honor. It's a privilege and an honor to have this award and to represent the Air Force.
I know your bio was really, really impressive during the voting periods, etc. Now, I will apologize right now. I did not vote for you.
It's okay.
I voted for Army people.
Feelings, the branches stick together.
We kind of do every now and then, but the neat part about it is that you can vote for whoever you want from whatever armed forces you want, whether it be National Guard, Air Force, Marines, Navy, Coast Guard. Anyway, back to my original question. What makes you amazing?
Oh, my goodness. That's like an open-ended question, Dave. I really don't think I'm an amazing person. I just do what I do every day because I'm passionate about it. And I am extremely passionate for military spouses. And specifically, I'm passionate about military families who have a member of their family with special needs.
Something of lines of advocacy, right?
Absolutely. I spend my time being an advocate for military spouses and for people with special needs, specifically people with Down syndrome, because my son is 2 years old and has Down syndrome. So I spend a lot of my time in that. But ultimately, I've been a military spouse for 11 years, and I dug my feet in the first few years.
Right.
And didn't really take advantage of the location we were living at, the people that I met, and I didn't take the advantage of becoming part of that military community. And so now I just want to mentor and encourage spouses and tell them, hey, embrace this military life, this military community, and what the military can do for you. And that's a really important piece for me.
Now, I notice in the advocacy portion of the mini bio that I had you send me that you talked about advocacy, and you talked about how with the playgrounds and for the EFMP program, it makes me realize something, and it's an aha moment for me. I'm actually seeing it from a different angle than I have before, and that's where I am thoroughly enjoying doing this show, because too many times we will try to make a difference on a national level or a regional level because, you get to feel that if you're advocating on a local level, in a neighborhood level, that really all you're doing is grunt work. But that's not necessarily true. Somebody has to champion these things. Somebody has to make them happen. And you've got this thing in here about how you got a playground in one of your one of the communities you were in. Tell me about that.
So that's one of the things. You have to start somewhere. And I encourage everybody who has, a heart for advocacy, a heart for, philanthropy, you have to start somewhere. And so whether it's the smallest level or a national level, the impact is still the same. And it was a year ago, I went onto a playground with my then 3-year-old and 1-year-old, and I realized my son had absolutely no opportunity to play. There was nothing for him that he could physically get on. There was no swing option. It was just he had to stay in a stroller. And I was heartbroken in that moment as a parent. And it was an epiphany moment for me. And I realized, okay, we need to make a difference on playgrounds, because I can remember back as a child the memories I made on a playground and the friends that I made and the learning and experiences that were had. And I want to ensure that all children with any disability, or what I like to say, all abilities, have an opportunity to play with others and have the experience of a playground. And so I had that moment. I identified that need, and it was on our base installation. And I immediately went over to the family advocacy building and said, I need to talk to somebody. Like, how do we get this fixed? Yeah. And it took 6 months. It was a lot of back and forth. I was that, squeaky wheel that I just kept every week calling. And I probably felt like they did not want to see Mrs. Boccher walking in the building because they knew I was going to be talking about getting this playground.
I've seen that happen before, but and there's something to be said about that. And for those of you out there that, you've got a similar situation and maybe you went down to the housing authorities and you said, look, we need the playground fixed. Are you the squeaky wheel? Are you a complainer, a whiner? Because if all you're doing is saying it needs to be fixed, I want you to fix it, that's not going to get you anywhere. What it sounds like you did is you walked in going, hey, this playground needs work. What can we do to make this better? What do I need to do to help get you guys going with it?
The approach, and I try to mentor other spouses and help them understand this. The approach is that there was a playground, a perfectly good playground. The playground just needed improvement, and that was the difference. I did not go in complaining from an emotional standpoint as a parent. I went in stating I identified a need I see where there's room for improvement. How can we make this happen? And in return, make this a playground that's accessible to all children. They were so receptive and, they really worked hard. It took 6 months and we now have therapeutic special needs swings on our playground. My son and the other 400 EFMP families at our base now have that opportunity at the playground. And what's even better is I drive by that playground almost every day and I see children of all abilities using the therapeutic high back swings. It's a win-win all the way around.
Did you put all of this down in writing as to, a kind of like a historical or chronological steps as to make this happen so that other people from other installations maybe can say, hey, Brittany, can I borrow that and make use of it? See if I can't make a difference in my community?
I do. I've kept a log of everything, the appropriate people that I spoke to on our base, which would be different if you're, Army or Navy or Marine, etc. The same lines of kind of what type of person they need to go talk to, like what position on base they need to go speak to. And I've had several spouses reach out to me and I've provided them the information. And I try to follow up with them as often as possible because my ultimate goal is to see all Air Force bases have a playground that's accessible to all children with all abilities. It will take a while to get there, but that is the goal, is that all bases, because right now ours is accommodating all children now. That doesn't just help my family, it helps all families, but then to think about all the families to come who will come to our base and how we're helping a huge population.
Yes. And if you can expand it out to, with the Army, a lot of joint bases available out there. Is that a special obstacle, joint base type things, or have you encountered that yet? Do you have any insight?
I have not encountered speaking with a joint base yet. I don't foresee it being a problem. I really think the solution to the problem is a reasonable solution, a reasonable improvement, and not something where we're asking to completely remove a playground that's already in place, but to just simply make improvements to make it useful to all children. And so by doing that, it's really identifying where there's a little gap and how we can most cost effectively get the best return on our investment for the community.
Now, I've seen a lot of, because I volunteer with the Boy Scouts a lot. I see a lot of the Eagle Scout service project involving playgrounds and involving, the workout areas for the troops, the pull-ups and the push-ups and they work on improving those because it improves for the community. And that's one of the requirements in the Eagle Scout service project. It has to benefit your community. Is there a way you think that we could marry up perhaps the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts with how you're getting these playgrounds improved to be EFMP friendly? What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's one of the things we've already talked about. I have kind of been researching that avenue to see how we could build that bridge and utilize the Boy Scouts, Eagle Scout project to help. That's something that logistically we have to talk with like CE on base. Mm-hmm. And then of course with the family advocacy to just kind of see, because it always comes down to like who owns the playground, who owns the space, everything. So logistically, it's working out, but that is something we are considering. I've also considered grants, getting grants for these if it's something that's not in the budget to get. But like I said, it's a pretty cost-effective way to make a huge impact for minimal invested resources and get the best return on the investment for the community.
Yeah. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's go into your nonprofit work. Tell me about what you've accomplished nonprofits.
So this is a very exciting part of my life. Nonprofit work I have been doing since, I would say, 2002. And I actually, I just love it. I received my undergraduate degree in community health and my master's degree in nonprofit management. I always knew I wanted to work in nonprofits, that I would do philanthropic work. It's just been my passion. So I worked in the corporate world all the way up until about 5 years ago. And when I say corporate world, I mean corporate nonprofit world. Mm-hmm. Up until about 5 years ago when I decided that I would fully step back back and support my spouse's career. And I also wanted to take the opportunity to be at home with my children until they started grade school.
And so with that, you were able to shift your nonprofit involvement into the Down Syndrome Advancement Coalition, which, if I'm not mistaken, you're the founder of, as well as Tank-Filled Life Project. Can you give me a brief rundown of both of those? They're both Down syndrome specific nonprofits.
Absolutely. They are. What happened is I decided that I was ready to get back into quote corporate nonprofit world. And I 2 years ago when my son was born and we learned that he had Down syndrome, it was like the light bulb went off in my head. And I said, now I know why I have all this nonprofit experience. I have a child with Down syndrome. It all makes sense now. So instead of working for another nonprofit, I decided to be my own boss, establish our own nonprofit. I'm the founder and president of. The purpose of the Down Syndrome Advancement Coalition is to be the partnership coalition piece to all Down syndrome organizations in Arkansas. We're specific to Arkansas right now. And so we're trying to take all of these different organizations that kind of have their own mission, but at the end of the day, they're all serving the same population.
Right.
And we're bringing them all together to unify because we're stronger together. We're all stronger being on a team. And the purpose is to advocate for people with Down syndrome in the areas of medical, education, employment opportunities, inclusion rights. And so that's the whole purpose of Down Syndrome Advancement Coalition. And then the Tank-Filled Life Project is specifically a life improvement scholarship program. And so the money we raise in the nonprofit is specific for this program where individuals with Down syndrome or their families can apply for a scholarship that can be used for anything that they see as life improvement.
Wow.
The chances are I want my son to go to college. He may not go to college. He may need some type of vocational work, or he may just really want to participate in a music program, art program, or whatever it may be. And myself, our family, or other families in the same situation may not be able to afford those programs because typically anything you need to do for a child with a special need, it costs way more than it would cost for a typical child to participate. And so our families need that extra help. And the goal is, let's have this scholarship available. Let's not stipulate that it's just for college because not all kids are going to go to college. It doesn't even matter about their abilities. Not all kids are going to go to college. And we want to have these scholarships available for anything that would improve their life, daily life.
Now, how would somebody be able to get a hold of you if by hearing this podcast, they want to find out more?
So currently we have been operating just locally and we're about to open up nationally. Our website's currently being built. Right now, they can just contact Brittany.Boccher at yahoo.com.
Spell that for me.
BRITTANY.BOCCHER at yahoo.com.
Nice. Thank you.
Absolutely. We've just actually became registered federally here this year. We had completed our state process. We're just now going to have the website start up and really start fundraising come like mid-year for the life improvement program.
Cool. Let's get back together with you in, say, 3 months or sooner. And I'll tell you how we can also do that. If you've got something that's really proud of that you'd like to tell everybody about, by all means, schedule another appointment. We'll do an interview and we'll get it in there. We'll get it into the mix. Brittany, thank you very much for joining me on Spouse World 1-to-1.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dave.
All right. We'll see you later.
Military Spouse World 1-to-1 is a BDE Productions podcast. The views and opinions of the host or any of the guests are not that of BDE Productions or sponsors. Be sure to like this episode and subscribe to Spouse World 1-to-1.